What up, NBA people? Detroit Pistons fans. Have you
That's
had one of
brutal,
these
man.
ideas?
That's brutal.
Um,
As a Rockets fan, I don't feel sorry for you because we kind of just went through the same thing for 2 years, so I get it.
Blame Steven Silas. I saw the report. He's been
I
on
think you might
three.
have even started that rumor. Like you were way ahead of that train.
I forgot he was on the bench, but he's been on three of the nine worst record losses with the Bobcats. He was the head coach for the Rockets, and now he's an assistant for the Pistons. Is it? Is there anything that Detroit fans though that y'all think that like they can look forward to?
I don't think they're a bad team. That's the funny thing. Like they just don't know how to win.
Like when you look at the list of the longest losing streaks in NBA history, I think they're more talented than any of those other rosters. Because you had the
Mm-hmm.
process Sixers who were trying to lose games, then you had the post LeBron Cavs who couldn't help but lose games, and then you had these like Bobcat teams that just sucked, and all these teams were predicted to be the worst. But going in this season, there were pundits, analysts who were not high on the Pistons, but thought they could be frisky. And it's not like no one picked them to be the worst team, but people thought the Wizards would be worse. Probably the Spurs would be worse. No one predicted this, and I kind of have a theory on this. And I mean, it's not really even a theory, but after you lose like 15, it becomes almost contagious, and then you get this
Big time.
and then you get national media attention, and then it goes on the other side. The opposing teams are like, well, we don't want to be the team that ends this losing streak. So it becomes a point of pride for the opposing team that makes it bigger than a regular season game would be. Honestly, I think it's good for the league, but terrible for the franchise and all the fans. But y'all got the Lions winning the division, so it'll be fun.
That's true. But as I mean, like you just said, man, the Rockets play them in 2 days, and I'm a Rockets fan, and I've been saying the Nick for a whole week. I was like, man, I hope they get a win before they get here because I do not want to be the team that they lose to or they win against. I look,
What's
I'm
the
not gonna lie to you and say that that's exactly what I was about to ask you. Like, what's the move? You know what I mean? Because if you like watch a lot of Pistons games, you're a liar. But like from what I do see and reading the stat sheets and everything, then like they're not a bad team. Like they're not getting blown out. Their shooting statistics kind of match up with everybody they play. They're not a bad rebounding team. It's just they turn the ball over too much and then they give up a shit ton of threes. That to me, that's fixable.
I watch
So
a lot of Pistons, and let me tell you, um,
Liar.
early morning. No, when they play the Bucks, I'll watch them. But you're right, and they have like a pretty balanced. Like they have Bogdanovich. They have these like assets that are veterans. We made fun of them in the preseason for having too many bigs. I mean, they're trying to be like a reclamation stop for bigs, which I think is detrimental to Kate's progress. I don't know how you're supposed to be developing your point guard of the future when you're surrounding him by five centers and Bogdanovich. It's you don't have any shooting. I think that's the move. I mean, everyone says the move is to trade Bogdanovich, but he's their only reliable shooter. So then if you trade
I
him,
str- I believe they need to get Kate off that ball as much. Like I really think that would help him. I guarantee you his score numbers would go up probably by 4 to 6 points just being off the ball because he could still get his own bucket and get another ball handler in there. I think that's what they need because Bogdanovich can do it, but he's a one-on-one player.
yeah,
so
Cade's advanced stats were pretty bad most of the season, but they've actually been better these last few games, which I think is a good sign for the Pistons and their fans. Is he's in these games that are, I think they're important. You're trying to avoid these records. He hasn't been the problem. He's been more efficient. He's been finishing at the rim,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously filling all the traditional stats as well. I that's why I go back to. It's like, what do you trade? I don't think there's much trade value in your centers. So do you just trade
Well, see,
Bogdanovich?
the thing is, No, because like the centers on that team can sweeten the pot. But then you have to be very clear on what position you're going to try to upgrade. Is it a ball
So,
handler? But I believe it be to be easier to get another big man.
so there's reports that they're looking to add another four. So they
Hold
said,
on, let me tell you what I'm was floating in my head and see if it's the same.
all right,
I could see a trade with like a Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, and Isaiah Stewart, and maybe a pick or something going to Minnesota for Big Cat.
it's not what they're thinking at.
What?
They're thinking they have four names to keep an eye on for them. Um, Miles Bridges, uh, Tobias Harris,
Okay, I was gonna say that.
OG Anabayo, and
Ananobi?
Ananobi and Pascal Siakam.
Hey, he's untouchable. I was thinking Tobias Harris when you said they wanted a four. That was the first name that came to my head. Philly can get off of him. Bogdanovic's salary might be. I'm not looking at it, but might be close enough to match. Throw Bogdanovich and maybe a couple of the young guys, and you get Tobias. Why do you do that? That's the question. I don't know what
Well,
that was.
do you realize that Bogdanovich is within like a tenth of a point with Cade for team leading? Like, I just don't see them trading Bogdanovich because like I can't risk somebody else coming in to give me 22. Like, I can't get off those points because like the team needs them.
Well, Tobias would put up bigger numbers than that because someone
I
has
don't
to.
want him to do. Fuck, man. I ain't gonna lie though. To me, Jalen Duran at center for them is like a lot. I think he's an all star of the future. But the Pascal next to him kind of makes sense. It really
But
does.
but if you're thinking about what the Raptors were asking for, even for Ananobi last year, I don't
True.
think the Pistons have anything that would one entice them to trade Ananobi, but definitely not Siakam, who I think they value higher, unless you threw in like a Sarah Thompson, and which would be ridiculous.
Yeah, that'd
So
be ridiculous.
that's why I
That's why I'm
don't
coming off Ivy.
yeah, why are they buyers though? Why are they going after these big names? I mean, Tobias Harris, I think, is more reasonable than those Raptors guys, but they shouldn't be
Oh,
hunting
for
them.
sure.
You might as you
But what
can't.
if what? But what if you're only doing it because you think that the assets that you're sending out have more value now than they will later? You know what I'm saying? Because if Jaden Ivey keeps playing like shit, his value decreases in the offseason. But when there may be a contender or another team that's looking to get off of a contract and I could take a player in, like say you have like Jaden Ivey and then like James Wiseman and you ship them to Washington for Kuzma. Like Kuzma does actually would help that team, you know what I mean? And Washington might make that trade just to count on getting off that deal.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. I'm curious what Pistons fans think though, because since the Blake Griffin trade, when they brought him in, they were fighting for mediocrity, and then they blew it up completely. So you can't. It's hard to go back and then completely blow it up again. They would fire the GM. Like it would have to be a
Mm-hmm.
changing of leadership. But as the fan base, I feel that would be incredibly frustrating. We just blew it up. We got Kate Cunningham, who's supposed to lead us out of this, and really not through his fault. It's been through inept GM's fault of not building the right team around Cade. But
But here's my here just because I agree with that. Like they did waste a lot of picks, but then also because I'm a fan of a team who sucked really bad for like 2 years, I understand. And it's actually like one of the first times in my life that my team actually had to rebuild, like to nothing. So I can look at their team and legitimately say I have three players that I'm building around: Cade, Thompson, and Duran. And then from there, it's like, what? How do I get the team better? That's how I would look at it if I was a Pistons fan. And I would be willing to move anything. Maybe not right now, like you say, but
I mean, they got to do something.
yeah, they need to win a game. That's what they need
They're
to
on
do.
track to they're on pace to be 5-77 the way they're going.
Wait, and I don't think you should trade just to win a game or win a few games. That's
Oh, yeah.
very nearsighted. But well, like you mentioned, Zach, you need to trade to give these young guys more opportunities and to set the runway, like kind of like Houston did the last couple of years, giving these young guys the ball and a chance to play. And then this year they took that step up. I think Detroit rushed it when they brought in Bogdanovich and gave Monty Williams, which we haven't even talked about paying him more than any other coach, which was a weird hire because I don't think Dwayne Casey was doing that poorly or is the wrong guy for where this team was. And then they bring in
And
this,
plus, Cade was hurt.
yeah, you bring in this win now coach who, and there's a lot of discourse on whether it was his team in Phoenix, but he made the finals. That's you can't just fall into the finals. But now you're paying him to win now and to build this young team. It's crazy how this team went from like pretty boring and forgettable season, like no one was projecting them to do much, to a dumpster fire, and they played themselves into that.
It's not. It's that, and also like you can look at teams like OKC, and you're just like, I understand like how y'all try to play. Like you have an identity somewhat, and we understand what you're trying to do. If you look at Detroit, you're like, well, I don't know what y'all's plan of attack ever is. You know what I mean? Are y'all trying to play defense? Are y'all shooting? Like, how are y'all supposed to be playing? And that's why I want to strip it down to Cade, Durant, and Asor because I was like, those are three dudes who could be like dogs. And then you get back to the Piston identity that way.
Yeah, and the fans are chanting "fire the owner" or "sell the team." I mean, like, what is selling the team going to do? We've had the same owner for a while now, and yeah, the last few years, 10 years, has sucked. Fire the GM, yeah. It's just weird how fan bases now find a scapegoat, whether it be an offensive coordinator or a coach or a player, when the problem is like your team just sucks and that the owner is the easiest target, but he's not going to sell it. He's not going to sell the team because they're on this huge losing streak. Why would, as a business proposal, that'd be stupid. Why would he sell when their value is this low? I mean, he'd still make off billions or whatever from one spot, but I just don't.
Trillion.
Right, get a new GM, start fresh, have Monty.
Is Joe Dumars still their GM?
No, I don't think so.
Because that would explain a lot if he is.
No, I don't think so. That would explain.
Like,
it's Troy Weaver.
okay,
He's been there.
I was about to say. Hey, maybe that is what they need. They need star power over there. Maybe we're wrong about everything, and they just need a star.
I
don't
just
know
blame the city of Detroit at this point. Like,
I mean, how they build their two dynasties, the Bad Boys, they built through some savvy trades, but through the draft as well. And then with the Hamilton, Chauncey, those teams were constructed fairly organically with also some. So Detroit's not like freaking Utah where it's like impossible to get people to come. It's a tougher sell of a market, but they've proven two different eras that they can win titles. So I don't think it's like a black hole of a franchise. They just need the right people running it, and they need to pick a direction and stick with it. Because all these young teams like the Jazz and the Thunder and then the Rockets too had all these picks and assets and things to build around, where the Pistons had neither. They just had bad teams and decent draft picks, but they don't have
They give out the worst contracts though. Like the only team that gives out worse contracts than the Pistons is the Hornets, but they're kind of on par.
Can I take it straight at the Hornets? People are forgetting they've lost 8 straight games, putting that out in the public, and no one's talking about them. No one will mention it. Y'all know who Hornets playoffs.
We know.
Yeah, they've lost 8 straight games, and it's being covered up because of the Pistons. But look in the mirror.
I mean, the Spurs, same could be said about those losers.
Yeah, they lost like 5 or 6 straight.
They were on like a 15-game losing streak till they met the Lakers or something. Somebody to sum up like how Detroit fans feel. They said this is the most Detroit Pistons have been on national coverage in a long time since Malice at the Palace, and that's not a good thing.
That was 20 years ago.
When they traded for Blake Griffin, there was, I think NBA people reacted to that, but it was past his prime. Like we didn't know it yet.
But I'm going to even dare say that they were in a bad way before that. I honestly feel like the Pistons have been bad at being ran as an organization since the offseason that they gave Ben Gordon and Charlie Villanueva big deals. And y'all have been bad ever since then. Then they did it with Josh Smith. They
Josh
ended
Smith,
up getting
and Drummond, and Brandon Jennings.
yes. And then like they had all that stock in Drummond and Greg Monroe, thought they were the new Twin Towers or something. You know what I mean? It's like, man, it was like y'all stuck on that for too damn long.
They traded Brandon Knight in Middleton for Brandon Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so bad.
Sorry, we're just going.
Is this a recipe though? Like y'all both said it at some point where they rushed their rebuilds, like, because like OKC is doing it very slow, organic. Boston kind of did it slow and organic. Rockets are doing it slow. They're letting all that stuff marinate.
I think that they did it, but not with the players. They did it with the coach.
Well, and that's, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like you'll throw out. I mean, everybody knows they went and traded for everybody's like washed up first round picks that nobody wanted anymore, and then we made fun of them at the beginning of the year when we said they had way too many big men, and then now that they're looking for big men still, and it's like, what the hell's going on?
I mean, some of it's lottery luck. If you think about like the Sixers process only worked because they got Embiid, and what if the Bucks or the Wolves or was it the Knicks? Did they take Porzingis before him? But yeah, what if one of those teams? No, Porzingis went after. But what if one of those teams at the top took Embiid? Or what if Boston? What if they ended up with?
What if the Lakers ended up with Tatum?
Right. What if they didn't end up with Jason Tatum, or they missed out on Jalen? I mean, I feel like Boston would have figured it out because it's a bigger market and franchise. But yeah, Philly's process only worked because it basically stumbled into Embiid, and then the Thunder worked because they took advantage of the desperate Clippers and got SGA. You have to get these breaks to go your way. Even the T-Wolves who are looking good now, like they hit with Anthony Edwards in a not very good draft where no one else has looked all that good. So sometimes you're just like the fourth pick in a 3-player draft. Like the Magic always feel like that's them.
Sacramento for 20 years.
Sacramento, yeah. Well, Sacramento does it to themselves, but they're always the 6th pick in a 7-player draft, but they take the 8th pick. But yeah, it's part of it's just drafting luck. Part of it's just who's available when you're bad. Sometimes some drafts are better than others, and it's just, yeah, like you said, trading for these stupid former first rounders and loading up on center. So it's going to be 2 or 3 years, I think, until someone can clean it up, and I don't think it's going to be Troy Weaver.
No, but then there's just they're so dumb. It's like y'all literally let Sadiq Bey leave for nothing. I like Sadiq Bey. I think he's a player. Yeah. He y'all could use him right now, Detroit.
Well, they ain't got him now. They ain't got Wingstop. They don't got a win. They haven't had a win since October 28th. Tough times, and
I don't know why I want to see it, but if they're gonna do something drastic and go after a player, go get Trey. Get Trey Young on that team.
Don't do that to Trey.
Why?
Okay.
Don't do that to Trey. I like.
What do you you could trade Bogdanovich and Osir Thompson and.
Now, see, that's the benefit to this is Atlanta might not require a sword because they still got Adrian Griffin. So there's a possibility that Detroit could keep a sword. And then your starting 1-2-3 would be Trey, Cade, Asur.
And then we'd have both Bogdanoviches together.
That, and then I'm pretty sure they would want like Jaden Ivey. If Detroit's smart, they could figure out a way to hustle them out of Capella and send a big man back.
Get off those
Another
books.
big. That's actually not like. Yeah, we'll have to do a whole different episode on Atlanta.
Yeah.
But that's intriguing.
So y'all think that some trades are being made?
Nah,
Something-
they're just gonna get themselves off this streak, and then they might lose a few more and get, it's just gonna tough. Bro, we're Rockets fans. We literally just watched this for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Something will happen around March where they'll win like 4 games in a row. And
How far does this losing streak go?
Good question. So next is the Celtics.
yeah,
I can see some shit where the Celtics it almost feels like a trap game. And Joe Mazzulla,
not for the Celtics. I don't see it. Not the Celtics.
I really think it's the Raptors, December 30th. The Raptors are just one of those teams that can go cold shooting for a night.
Mm-hmm.
And people have more to play for. And then, as you mentioned, on New Year's Day, Pistons at the Rockets. And then they play the
Houston
Jazz.
been giving up points.
So I'd be shocked if they don't have a win by like January 4th. If they don't get a win between the Raptors, Rockets, and Jazz, they're fucked. I mean, they go at the Warriors, at the Nuggets, then they play the Kings, and then it's January 10th they play the Spurs. So
That's definitely winnable for them.
I have January 10th or January 15th against the Wizards. Like, I see one of those, they get a win.
Yeah, they'll win.
That means you're on like a 30-something losing streak, though, Detroit. So
yeah, if they don't win by the 15th, we'll do another Detroit.
Yeah. 40-game losing streak. Let's get it.
You know what?
I got to start
Sell the
playing
team.
G League teams.
Yeah, relegate them to the G League.
Oh, man. Chin up, Detroit. You're probably going to have another holiday with no wins because y'all have gone through Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas without wins. So try to enjoy New Year's. You got the Lions. You'll be fine. You sacrificed all your other teams for them. Make sure you like, subscribe, drop a comment down below. Piston fans, I know you're probably not going to be happy about this, but it's okay. We're here with you. We, as Rockets fans, understand the pain. Not as much as that, but we understand it a little bit. Yeah. That being said, much love, NBA fans. We're out.
How much I'm working for this? I swear my dreams are too important.